His political life continues to be marked by incredible heights as well as spectacular failure. And this far, he remains the party leader of Amani National Congress. I'm talking about none other than Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi. He makes for a person of interest today on yet another classical edition of Siasa Brigade. And of course, it will be exciting as well as insightful because before we wrap it all together, as is the norm, we have our Wheel of Time segment. And today, it's quite a sad one because a few years ago, Herman Manyora lost one of his trainee lawyer, actually son, who is a trainee lawyer, through a tragic road accident. And today we want to understand as a parent, how did he cope up with such a loss and what was it like for his family going through the natural stages of grieving? And if he indeed has regrets that probably his son passed while he had not literally showed him all the love a father will do to a son, or whether he feels that he is at peace with whatever happened since that day. Of course, my name is Richard Mwenje, yours truly, your resident host on the channel. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. And right about now, allow me to dive into this conversation with none other than Kenya's most sought after political analyst, the first of his name, Herman Bond Manyora. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you, Richard.
You're looking quite warm, in as much as today we have some teary part in our edition.
Yes, no problem. No.
Will you copy it?
Oh, of course.
All right.
I'm a strong man.
I see. Today we are touching on the political journey of Musalia Mudavadi. Yes. This fight has been on the political game for over 2 decades, almost going to the 3rd decade. Of course, he has a rich experience when it comes to governance issues. But then let's start from the most recent happening in Kenyan political landscape, where at some point a few months ago, he, together with Gideon Moi, Martha Karua, and Kalonzo Musyoka were under the One Kenya Alliance. The 3 of them, the 3 others, actually left for Azimio, while he went for Kenya Kwanza, that is Musalia Mudavadi. Would you say that that spat that came thereafter was probably because Musalia's bread wasn't as buttered as that one of Gideon Moi, Karua, and Kalonzo?
I'm not sure. I'm not part of the dynamics and the inner workings of One Kenya Alliance, or OCA as they call themselves. So I wouldn't want to speculate. But it could have something to do with character.
Character? All right. We are seeing way back in around 2008, actually Musalia had gone into the political cold. We saw Raila Odinga made him the deputy prime minister back then. It was not the first time that Raila Odinga was coming forth and trying to pick Musalia from the political cold. This far, do you think now that Musalia is on the Kenya Kwanza side, portrays him as this thankless leader, especially to Raila Odinga, and this is the time probably Raila will have needed his support the most?
Not really. You know, politics, that's how politics works. There are no friends in politics. There are no promises in politics. The politicians are like those other people.
Political debts?
Politics is just politics. And people, they are thankless. People break deals without breaking a sweat, without even caring. A classic example was between Tony Blair and Gordon Brown in the UK. And, politicians are politicians. But I think Uhuru is beginning to test what Raila has gone through. The idea of picking people from nowhere, dusting them, sprucing them up,
polishing them,
giving them a lifeline. And the idiots just forget.
They walk away.
Only Raila is the one who has been facing this. Now Uhuru has tested it a bit. A lot of these chaps who are saying nasty things about Uhuru, who have left and gone to UDA, without Uhuru, there will be nowhere. Some of them will just be taking changa.
If you actually portray Musalia as such, we've seen in the recent months leading up to this particular month of July, he has actually accused Musalia of suffering from the Peter Pan syndrome, whereby now he cannot be an independent political seeker, because he's used to actually breathe in the political oxygen of other stronger leaders like Raila Odinga, the late President Dalian Toroitich Arap Moi. Would you say going forward, Musalia Mudavadi will probably never ascend to presidency, surely not walk away from such syndrome as it has been portrayed by Atwoli?
I just think basically Musalia is a weak character. Let's not blame him. He's a good chap. Today I went to the AG's office. Had some business there. And somebody chose to show me around. One of the askaris there, a bodyguard to some of these big boys there. And he comes from my place today. And he was saying, this is Mudavadi. What's wrong with him? He asked me this serious question. Is it too late for him to come back to Baba?
Is it?
He asked me. I said, it may not be too late, but I doubt. So Musalia actually has a problem with character.
Problem with character.
Let me tell you something, and I've said it before. And this is how the world seems to work. Many people we see and fear. We watch them on TV, read about them in the newspapers and everywhere. When we hear the names, But if you meet them in person, you discover most of them are absolutely useless and empty. You wonder even how they got there.
In the same breath, we've seen actually in 202,
Yes.
the same Atwoli, Francis Atwoli has come forward and said Raila actually endorsed Musalia Mudavadi for the presidency. Somewhat, Kibaki and Martha Karua under the NARC Kenya were also behind Musalia Mudavadi, but there was sort of a political circus that was in play, and Musalia was actually bought out in political terms, and probably that will have been the only chance.
He was not bought, he's just weak. The story we hear, maybe wrong, is that like everybody else who had left Moi with his Uhuru Kenyatta and gone to Rainbow, Raila Odinga, Saitoti, Kalonzo, and the rest of those people who then joined Kibaki and Kibaki, Ngilu, and the late Wamalwa. Two of them retracted. Ngara from the coast, the son to Ronald Ngala, what is called Katana Ngala.
Katana Ngala,
yeah, and Mudavadi. If you look at their character, they are weak characters.
Weak characters.
Yeah, they are really weak characters. So, but it is true that maybe it is true rather the way we are told. After he had crossed over like everybody else, deserted Moi, the mother told him, "Look here, look at how far we have come from with Moi and so on. He's been part of us. Remember, your father and Moi were friends." A mother is very convincing. Maybe it is true. A mother is very, very convincing. I can imagine how I loved my mother, Nezia. If she really came to me, I'm not so sure I will disappoint her. Nezia, rest in peace. I used to call her old girl. So it is possible, but it's also possible just a phone call from Moi. Just call Mudavadi, sit here. We kijana, iko jita gani wewe? Where are you going? Unafuata hii wagora hii?
All right.
Toka nitakupatia kazi kidogo. It's possible.
Because
when you are weak, and you know, it was going to disturb Moi a lot, because people were kind of settling on the youthful Mudavadi, because Saitoti was a Kikuyu, although people were saying Masai. And then there was Kibaki. So if you look at the dynamics of the time, at that time Raila had not worked himself to a position where Kenyans could vote in Raila, or even a Luo for that matter. He was hesitant. So it was almost naturally falling on this youthful man,
Musalia Mudavadi.
And that's what Raila had in mind, and other players.
Does that somewhat explain the bitterness from the Luhya side with regards to the Musalia influence in national politics? They say at the time Kijana Wamalwa had passed on, Mudi Awori was a bit old, and now they find that was the biggest political mistake for a Luhya leader to have done. They said Musalia was their best bet to become the president. Is there wiggle room for Musalia to be the president of Kenya in the near future? I
think by miracle. Miracles happen everywhere, including politics.
Miracles.
But, I said this, and I want to be very honest. The things I say, I have never said because I hate anybody. I have no interest in politics. I hate nobody. And nobody ever gives me anything. So I say these things from deep inside me. I said this, and I wish people like Mudavadi listen to me. This is a moment of generational change. Those who cross the river in 2022, cross the river in meaning they are not eaten by crocodiles or politics. Those who will be in power,
all right,
are the people who will midwife the generational change. So if Raila wins, the people on Raila's side will be relevant in the next dispensation.
Probably 20 years to come.
Not them. It's not them. Actually, it is not an individual. It is a team that is going to usher in the new team. You get it? Because by 2027, the politics of this country will have changed so hugely Even if you
Musalia
try to
won't-
run, you look like a fool. I'm telling you, unless you are already part of power. So let me just put it simple. If Raila wins, those with Raila will be part of power. Even as that power begins to have new dynamics, new faces, more youthful players, whether you like it or not. On the other hand, those who bet wrongly like Mudavadi and Ruto loses, they will never, ever appear on the political map again. They are gone. That river has swept them because it is a moment of generational change. I don't know whether people understand what I'm saying.
I see.
The Railas, the Kalonzo Musyokas, the
Sifunas.
Gideon Mois, they will survive despite being old because they will be part of power.
I get
The
it.
power that is now changing form and shape. They will be part of it. Even them, they will not be as relevant in that dispensation as they may want to imagine today.
All right.
You get what I'm saying? If you are a man of my age and you are in an office, a powerful office, unless you embrace young people around you, you will fail.
It is no
Because
doubt.
the world has changed. The world of technology. Things are moving so fast. As an old man, there are times you doze a bit. Things have passed you. Ukiamuka vitu imekupita kwa ofisi. So you need youthful people thinking the world is changing. So in politics, the dynamics of change, if you are outside power, you will never appear again.
Rightfully put, actually, there.
So Mudavadi, to answer your question, if he doesn't cross in the remaining 3 weeks, he's lost
You
it.
are a firebrand political analyst with some rich history of Kenyan politics and
Yes.
governance issues. We have seen, of course, this narrative come on board that actually the genesis of the fallout between Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, whom Musalia is in his camp, is because actually Raila went for Musalia Mudavadi for the deputy prime minister position at the expense of William Ruto, whom many people knew was actually fit for that position and actually deserved it. From where you see it as your footnote, how true is this narrative?
You know, the role Ruto played, he brought more votes than Mudavadi. So when I heard Luya's the other day saying, oh, Mudavadi, Raila became prime minister, cut us from Mudavadi's votes. Well, it is true Luya supported him. But it is equally true Ruto brought bigger support. Not just in numbers, but if you are the KICC, the push and so on. But of course, the other ugly bits of it. I want to answer this question differently. And I'm training you young people. When you go for an interview, sometimes you can change the question and answer it. And the people will listen to you. So I want to change. Instead of saying William Ruto should have been the deputy prime minister instead of Musalia Mudavadi, what did I think at that time? And with hindsight, I think I was right. If Raila had stayed outside government and put forth Musalia Mudavadi and William Ruto, he would have won the presidency in 2013 without even a struggle, without breaking a sweat.
At 9 a.m. in the morning.
Maybe 10 latest. That's
All
how
right.
I had seen. I could see where the country was going. I could see he was going to be part of the Kibaki government as outsiders like Uhuru, who are actually insiders but posing as outsiders, will get this seat. If he had given Ruto and Mudavadi to be in the National Accord, Nayaka Inja, taking power in 2013 would just been a walkover.
We have seen Musalia Mudavadi very recently go out.
But let me say something else. To have given Ruto instead of Mudavadi would have been betrayal. Because he had gone into this election with Mudavadi as the deputy captain. How do you then leave the deputy captain and give the deputy position, of which was deputy prime minister, to a person who was not the deputy? It would have been a betrayal. And I think it would have not it would not have been natural. It would have been unfair. Yes.
I believe you've actually set the record straight for people of Rift Valley who had actually asked me to probably have you shed light on that actual moment. All right.
Yeah.
We have seen very recently Musalia Mudavadi has been going on a certain track, or I would say trajectory, that wasn't accustomed to him or his followers in the past, whereby he's big on venting towards President Uhuru Kenyatta, towards the Jubilee administration, on matters public debt, on matters governance issues and graft, and many things therein. We have seen Atwoli, once again, who considers himself the de facto kingpin of Western politics, come forth and saying There is something called Samson's complex, of course, a syndrome whereby one becomes bitter because of his incapabilities to change the situation around him or her and goes to a path of self-destruction. And Said Musalia is on that particular path of self-destruction in his political life. Do you support that argument?
Atwoli has his own thinking. I would support it in some way. Let me reframe it. Mudavadi is a man driven by anger. He's so angry with Uhuru Kenyatta for not handing him the presidency, despite having shown the indications
Early enough.
the most obvious to him during the burial of his mother.
Yeah.
May God rest Hannah's soul in eternal peace. And everybody said, and events after that, the way he was supported for the by-elections in Bungoma and Matungu in Mumias, and the state seemed to be really with him. They're giving an indication. So he's very bitter with Uhuru. He's equally bitter with Raila, whom he feels he has supported, and Raila doesn't seem to want to. But he forgets. Even if Uhuru had wanted to give him. And I suspect those ideas Uhuru and Raila were toying with. Raila did quite want to run. But do you know the problem is one?
Tell me.
Uhuru and Raila were facing Ruto. It's good to make an assessment of self. Could Mudavadi have managed Ruto? It's good to make a self, even if Raila and Uhuru supported him. You know what? You make Mudavadi presidential candidate for Azimio against Ruto. Ruto will go on holiday. And he will not campaign. He will just come for swearing in. And Mudavadi must know that. Because it's now ameanza kuweka makali. Now ameanza kuweka makali.
Exaggerating his own abilities?
Yeah, you see, Ruto and then Raila and Uhuru were faced with tough choices.
A dilemma.
For them to come back and say, let me tell you this. I suspect, and I'm right. Most likely I'm right. They didn't have Raila in mind. Raila and Uhuru didn't have Raila in mind. They wanted somebody else between the two of them.
I see.
But looking around, the way Ruto had shown how tough he was, you needed a tough man. And only Raila could face Ruto. And he will defeat him. If you gave him Mudavadi, my friend. Or any of these guys trying to claim we should have... you can't
Peter
beat
Kenneth,
Ruto.
Wajakoya.
Let's be honest. Not within, I'm saying within Azimio.
Yeah.
Within that Azimio fraternity, the
Brigade, yeah.
Uhuru Raila axis. The truth is there was nobody who could have faced Ruto. Ruto is not a walkover.
I see.
Yeah, but if it had been somebody else they were facing, I think Uhuru would have supported Mudavadi. So he must blame his own character. He never... When there were indications that these guys would be supporting, what did he do to give them confidence? Did he do anything to give them confidence? I doubt.
We have little time left, but allow me to touch the last aspect that actually somehow associates with Francis Atwoli.
Yes.
He has actually asked Western voters to, actually not to shame him on the material day that is on 9th August.
Yes.
But on the other side, it is, what are the chances that actually Musalia Mudavadi will shame Francis Atwoli and deliver not just 70%, but close to 90% of the Western votes to Kenya Kwanza?
The chances are there, but in dreams. How can Mudavadi outmaneuver Atwoli and the rest? There's absolute. Let me tell you, when the chips are down, and I tell people, I know this country and I know politics. When the chips are finally down, Mudavadi atatwangwa kama Mburukenge in Western.
Musalia Mudavadi is your homeboy from Vihiga.
Atachapwa kama Mburukenge. As I speak to you now, the most generous opinion poll to them, to Mudavadi, gives him 50 against Raila in his own county. The most generous is 51 versus 49. Don't ask him where it is coming from. Musalia 51, Azimio 49, Raila 49. In his home county, the most others give him 40.
The same county that you come from,
yes.
Nelson, Harvey, and several others.
Correct.
Why has it taken you so long for you to advise Musalia to be on the correct political journey?
And I can say it in broad
daylight.
I have tried my best.
Tried reaching him?
Not reaching him, but I reach him. Even now I can talk to him. We have talked many times. I've even something like consulted for him. I've worked for him a bit. He's a homeboy. This is my man from. I will be. I keep telling people, if Mudavadi became president, I will have bragging rights.
State House will be just another home for
and
you.
He'll give me a big job because people will beat him up if he doesn't give me.
You and Harvey, your friend Nelson.
Yeah, we'll be in the cabinet.
I see.
With senior positions. Maybe I'll be interior minister.
Or national
where
treasury.
Matiang'i is. Yes,
I
or
see.
national treasury.
All right.
So the idea is, on a serious note, if you look at Musalia's history, it's been erratic. 2002, he ran away when people wanted to make him president. Raila picked him, brought him back on fold during the referendum, put him in LDP. Referendum came, 2007 came, 2008, the accord, he became deputy prime minister. Come 2012, as we are going into the new election, the new dispensation, he begins to say, he's being ridiculed in ODM. He's talking about small boys in ODM, not Raila.
I see.
If small boys in ODM, I don't want to mention them, are saying things about you, and you are sulking and trying to go your way, because again, typical of him, people are telling him they will make him president. A test tube president.
Test tube?
Kina Nick Wanjohi and the rest of those people in State House, that you are going to be the
next president.
The next president.
State
a test tube president. And he listened to them. Again, he got his 400,000 votes when men were getting millions. You see, in
Herman
2017
Manyora.
again, these people didn't forget. They were not bitter. They again worked with him. Now that Raila is becoming president, you can now see how it hurts me. At that time, Raila has gotten the presidency because Raila is going to be the president. Everybody now knows it, including Ruto. Look at where Mudavadi is. Instead of being with Raila, with whom they have been hunting, Raila and Mudavadi have been hunting for the presidency. Instead of being there when Raila is being sworn in, when Mudavadi is going to be a major player in government, going to be a big person, perhaps on his way to the presidency in the future. Look, ameenda kucheza mpira kwa kina Ruto, kwa mpira ya watoto.
Oscar Sudi and Kipchumba Murkomen.
Oh, with this. Look, he should be where the power is going, where he belongs. Because it will be very sad for Raila to enjoy the presidency without Musalia Mudavadi there.
You feel for him?
I feel for him.
All right.
Maybe I'll talk to Raila. Tell him after being sworn in, please forgive this young man. You have bring him back.
Let him come as a prodigal
Let him
son.
back. Yeah, prodigal son.
All right. The very last, before we wrap it all together, you've talked about matters to do with small boys in the political world, those at State House and so forth. We are seeing Musalia Mudavadi is actually grooming potential firebrands. Talk of Nelson Harvey, Cleophas Malala. These are politicians, young and smart, who've actually vowed to have their allegiance go the Musalia way. Don't you think this same, brigade will at some point get Musalia to...
The people you have mentioned, Malala, Harvey, are not under Mudavadi, they're under Ruto. Harvey was in ANC, he left, he went to UDA. He has said not so nice things about Mudavadi in terms of the kind of person he is, to be pushed, blah, blah, you know that, eh? Malala, though nominally in ANC, he takes orders from Ruto. He's being financed by Ruto. He reports to Ruto. So who are Mudavadi's people?
I thought in the near future, the very same will get Mudavadi to State House.
Look at Halwale, a powerful. On which party is he running? I would have thought all the big names in Kenya Kwanza from Western will be ANC. You go Musalia is begging people in his own constituency. In his own constituency. Ruto was there the other day. Ruto was there the other day. What was happening? He was being shouted down because there was this thing between Ayodi, Dr. Ayodi, who is the ANC Musalia candidate, vis-a-vis the other, I can't remember his name.
But the chaos erupted,
Sloya, his brother who passed on was a candidate, was my student. I used to call him Mark. Sloya has more following, and Mudavadi was begging about a month ago. There was a show-off in Ruto's rally. You get what I'm saying?
I get it.
So what does that give you an impression that he's a strong man who is in control?
All right, let's wrap it up there on this particular edition of Siasa Brigade, touching on the political life and what the future portends for none other than ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi. Of course, there you have it from the firebrand himself, giving nuggets of wisdom on how best Musalia Mudavadi can forge a clear path ahead when it comes to taking his political journey a notch higher. Of course, it's time for a Wheel of Time segment, and a couple of years back, Herman Manyora, the man seated just across me here, lost his trainee. A son was actually studying law studies at the University of Nairobi. Ever since, we want to understand, for him as a parent, how was it like getting the news, going through the natural stages of grieving, and if this far, he feels he was the best father to that particular son, and what probably that situation, should it get to you, how best can you cope with it? Talk to us about that, sir.
You cannot talk about coping with death. Death is so difficult. My son disappeared. And after some times, that was, I think it was October, November. You're supposed to, a couple of weeks before graduating.
What?
I think I had even been going to help him. He had a few issues with some units at Parklands. So he disappeared a bit and looked for him. Didn't get him. Then something, my friend called Habbe kept telling me, why don't you check the mortuary? It's getting too much.
What?
Because even this WhatsApp status is, nothing is going on. Then I said no. Then I sent my driver, tough guy, Edward. But I also called my brother, my cousin from home, who is also an ex-GSU man. So they went.
Which year was that?
That was 2011.
2011,
I was in KICD attending a workshop on writers. We were writing, we had entered a competition for writers, the BAT Award Prize. So the Canadian fellows had sent somebody to talk about the writing. So I get a call from the people who had sent, so we found him. City mortuary. It was
devastating.
And I don't know how I drove myself to Kabete police station, because that's where it had happened, just to be told what happened.
Your dear son, your lovely one, God rest his soul in peace. You've in a previous edition said that this was actually the only person in your family whom you had seen was most likely to fit in your shoes, going big, probably on political analysis, or even going for elective politics.
No, all children are great. But there was something about the young man, despite a few issues he had. There was something about him that I always felt, that which I didn't do, like not going into politics, he would be able to perhaps do it. Yeah, but so sometimes death is very painful. Not sometimes, always.
He must have been
going through it is not easy, my friend. I've lost people, and I know I lost my mother. I've lost other people. Lost my dad, but that was fairly painful.
Just to wrap it all up, all together, he was actually training, undertaking law studies at the University of Nairobi. Then that must have been a really, really bright young boy.
Very bright. Oh, that was a brain box.
Like father, like son.
Yeah.
Far much better than the father.
Of course, the father is somewhere else.
About to go to retirement.
Yeah, but it was painful, yes. But we all we can tell people is that this is part of the things you go through life. When they happen, whenever I've lost many people in my family, there's something that I always remember. The first time I lost somebody was my sister, very close to me, and we looked alike in 1979. My aunt, who passed on 2-3 years ago, God rest her soul. My mother was just born too. Yeye na mkubwa wake, my aunt. My aunt, while consoling us, she told us, look here, I lost my husband when I had one toddler, one child and another toddler. They were all just toddlers. You know how old she was? 18 years.
What?
Now this is what she said. I thought and I believed the world had come to an end. And I didn't see the purpose of living. 18 years losing a husband. You know what that means?
Yeah.
But she told us, after some time, she was shocked to discover that life must go on.
Regardless.
Regardless. Life must go on. And you actually move on. So you can only tell people, whenever these kind of things visit you, it is painful, but indeed life must go on.
All right.
You need to be strong. Sometimes you'll be strong for those who depend on you.
The brothers and
the sisters. If you are, for example, you are a man, you lost your wife, you are a wife, you've lost a husband, the children depend on you. If you break, how do you expect them to navigate through life? So you need to be strong for them.
All right. Yeah. Well, there you have it. Of course, a sad story from Herman Manyora, Vihiga's Kenya's biggest expert, talking matters how to actually cope up with grief when it visits your door. And for him, it's all about making peace with what has happened and literally charting a path that will help you get even further in life despite the challenges that you might have faced in your past. Well, that wraps it all together for this particular edition of Siasa Brigade. My name is Richard Mwanja. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Stay tuned for a classical edition of Business Glide that will be coming to you before the week ends here on the channel. And remember, our journey to 100,000 subscribers is still on. Our target is to be there before the 25th of July. So before you close down this particular page or edition, make sure you subscribe right there on the channel.